Put your hands where I can see them. That's the first thing I heard when two squad cars screeched into my new driveway. I had one foot in the door of our lake cabin and the other on a box holding my daughter's bright orange reading chair, the one her mom gave her before cancer took her away from us. And now, just minutes into our fresh start, I was being treated like a criminal in my own front yard. Name's Daniel Reeves. I'm 43, software developer, widower. And most importantly, dad to the most resilient kid I've ever met. Her name's Emma. 18, starting college in the fall, sharp as a tack with a heart twice the size. And that chair? That orange chair was her sanctuary when the world fell apart. Her mom, Paige, picked it out during her final hospital stay because she said Emma needed color in her life, something bold, bright, alive. So when I finally saved enough for a tiny cabin on Stillwater Lake, nothing fancy, just a fixer-upper with good bones and a view, Emma's first request was to place that chair by the lake, right where she could read, think, and remember. I'll never forget the way her eyes lit up when we pulled into the driveway with the U-Haul. She was directing furniture like a little general, telling me the exact spot where the chair should face the sunset. That's when she arrived. Her name was Lorraine Marks. Picture a woman in her late 50s dressed like she was running for city council, but forgot which city. Tight bun, pearls in the daylight, and a clipboard she clutched like it granted divine authority. She didn't knock. She didn't greet us. She marched across the grass like we'd parked a UFO on her lawn and shouted, "That chair is a violation of Community Aesthetic Code 6B. Emma froze. Just minutes ago, she was bubbling over about how she'd read To Kill a Mockingbird by the water. Now some stranger was pointing at the last thing her mother ever gave her and calling it a violation. I stepped in front of Emma like any dad would. "Ma'am, I'm not sure who you are, but this is our property. We just closed on it last week." Lorraine narrowed her eyes and looked from me to Emma and back again. "She's far too young to own lakefront property," she snapped. "This is obviously a rental scam. Don't play dumb." I should have walked away right then. I should have ignored her. But the way Emma was shrinking behind me, her arms wrapped around herself like she was disappearing, I couldn't let that stand. "Ma'am," I said, trying my best not to sound like I was seconds from losing it, "she's my daughter. We bought this place to start over. Please don't speak to her that way." That's when Lorraine pulled out her phone. "Yes, this is President Lorraine Marks of the Stillwater Cove HOA. I'd like to report suspicious behavior and likely rental fraud at 118 Clearwater Lane." She was talking loud, deliberately loud, so we could hear every word. "There's an older man claiming a teenage girl is his daughter. No paperwork, no approval. They're violating multiple codes." Emma whispered, "Dad, why is she doing this?" And right then, I realized something. This wasn't just about a chair. Lorraine wasn't just another nosy neighbor. She was someone who'd built her identity around control. And people like that, they don't just enforce rules, they invent them. The cops showed up 10 minutes later. Officer Bradley was polite, but he had to follow procedure. Lorraine greeted him with the warmth of a Walmart greeter mixed with the smugness of someone absolutely convinced she was about to be proven right. She had documents, laminated violation notices, bylaws with page numbers, even an ID badge clipped to her blazer that said, HOA President. To be honest, it all looked real. Until it didn't. They took down our info, asked for the deed, our IDs. Verified Emma's last name matched mine. Lorraine kept interrupting, insisting Emma was too young, accusing us of subletting, and saying the orange chair clashed with the lake's natural hues. By the time they left, we felt dirty, like we'd been accused of something and barely escaped punishment. Emma didn't say a word for hours. Later that night, I found her folding up the orange chair and putting it in the garage. "I don't want to give her another reason to hate us," she said quietly. And man, that crushed me. Over the next 3 days, the violations piled up. A $500 fine for unauthorized furniture, $300 for unregistered new residents, and a $750 penalty for disrupting community visual harmony. Each notice looked official, letterhead, legal-sounding language, even a seal that looked like it belonged on a courthouse. But the email address? LorraineMarks58@gmail.com. Emma, bless her curiosity, tried to find a website to pay the fines. "Dad," she said one night, eyes red from crying, "this whole HOA thing feels fake. Like, really fake. I can't find a website. No listings, nothing registered with the state." At first, I brushed it off. Figured they were just old school. But something kept gnawing at me. And when I finally called the county clerk to confirm, that's when the hammer dropped. There is no registered HOA at that address, the clerk said. Never has been. I hung up, turned to Emma, and just said, "She made you cry over a chair your mom gave you. She's not getting away with this." We went full detective mode after that. Emma found that the so-called HOA's website was built on a free template with stock photos and no contact info besides, you guessed it, Lorraine's Gmail. The bylaws were copied from a real HOA in another state. The seal? Clip art. I sent Lorraine an email asking for a formal meeting with the full board to discuss our violations. She replied in under an hour, saying she'd gather the board at her home the next evening. Perfect. Emma and I showed up early, parked across the street, and waited. Around 6:30. Two women pulled up and entered Lorraine's house. We snuck close enough to hear her through the window. "Carol, you're the treasurer. If he asks about money, just say the funds are managed, but we don't keep exact records. Janet, you're the secretary. You've been taking meeting minutes for 3 years." Janet asked, "Are we even allowed to do this?" And Lorraine snapped, "We have to. He's trying to ruin everything I built." Everything she built. Emma recorded every word. The board meeting was a joke. Lorraine had set up name tags, passed out binders printed that morning, and opened with, "Thank you for attending this formal compliance review." When I asked to see financial records, Carol said, "They're substantial." When I asked when the bylaws were updated, Janet blurted out, "Oh, Lorraine just finished writing those last week." Game over. Emma uploaded the audio and screenshots to social media that night. The post blew up. People from our own neighborhood started commenting, sharing stories about Lorraine issuing fines for things like non-symmetric lawn edges or holiday decor exceeding 3 lumens. Turns out, she'd been running a scam for years. So we printed flyers, emergency community meeting, HOA transparency review. We kept the language neutral so Lorraine would show up, which she did. With her fake board and a friend posing as her lawyer, I calmly walked up, plugged in my laptop, and walked everyone through the evidence. Slide by slide. County records. The fake website. The Gmail. The audio. Then I played the clip, Janet saying Lorraine wrote the bylaws last week. The room erupted. Mrs. Daly, who'd been paying $50 a month for community landscaping, yelled, "I'm on my own lawn." Lorraine cracked. She started crying, yelling about how after her husband died, the neighborhood was falling apart. No one cared. I just wanted order again. I said, "Lorraine, I lost my wife too. You don't rebuild your life by controlling other people's." That's when Emma stood up and said something I'll never forget. "We can't undo what she did, but we can make sure it never happens again." She proposed we file a charter declaring our neighborhood HOA resistant. That way, no one could ever form one again without unanimous approval. A month later, we got 25 of 27 households to vote yes. Stillwater Lake became the first self-governed neighborhood in the county. And Lorraine? After some counseling and community service, she found her place organizing volunteers at the senior center. Turns out her skills weren't the problem, just her need to control everything. Emma still sits in her mom's orange chair every evening, now surrounded by neighbors who wave, chat, and bring snacks. The chair that once triggered a war became the symbol of everything we built together, not through rules, but respect. So yeah, that's how we banned a fake HOA forever. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever dealt with a neighbor who thought they ran the whole block? Ever felt powerless against someone hiding behind rules that didn't feel right? Tell me in the comments. Share your story. Let's shine a light on the people who confuse control with community, and maybe, just maybe, help a few neighborhoods take back what makes them special. And if you're watching this in a place where an orange chair might get you fined, maybe it's time to pull it out anyway. Let him stare.